And away we go, episode 1293 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. It is the first day of a new month. This is April Fool's Day. This also is the first day of Passover, which begins at sundown on Wednesday. We say Happy Passover to those who celebrate. And we are in the midst of quite the period for Washington, D.C. versus Philadelphia. We on Tuesday night had a major win for the Washington Capitals, a 6-4 win over the Philadelphia Flyers at Capital One Arena. We on Tuesday evening had a loss for the Washington Nationals, a 3-2 loss at the Philadelphia Phillies. We on Wednesday afternoon have the Nats at the Phillies at 105 for Game 3 of that 3-game series. And we on Wednesday night have the Washington Wizards against the Philadelphia 76ers at Capital One Arena at 7. DC versus Philly in full effect. Lots more on that Caps win and that Nats loss later in the show. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, analysis of the best of what Washington Commanders General Manager Adam Peters and Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn have had to say during the NFL's annual league meeting, which is wrapping up on Wednesday. This year's annual league meeting is taking place in Phoenix, started on Sunday, is ending on Wednesday. Among the many topics that we'll get into, the mystery that is why Washington released center Tyler Biadasz, whether the team tried to trade Biadasz, the team's plan at center, how Adam Peters felt about quarterback Jayden Daniels playing in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic, a goal for Daniels in the 2026 offseason being to put on more muscle, and analysis of Washington at tight end, receiver, running back, edge defender, linebacker, and cornerback. In-depth, comprehensive discussion. Next segment of comments from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. By the way, Washington on Tuesday afternoon announced the signing of a player, unrestricted free agent interior defensive lineman DJ Davidson, who has played nose tackle. He has spent his 4 NFL seasons with the New York Giants, who took him in the 5th round of the 2022 NFL Draft out of Arizona State. And also on the show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles, a bad Tuesday evening for the Birds. An 8-5 loss to the Texas Rangers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in a game in which starting pitcher Zach Eflin allowed 1 run in 3 2/3 innings with 7 strikeouts, but left the game due to right elbow discomfort. Before we get to feedback, some college basketball, more fallout from another disappointing season for Georgetown. Reports on Tuesday afternoon that one of Georgetown's best players, Malik Mack, is entering the NCAA transfer portal. It was the previous Tuesday afternoon, March 24th, that we had reports that another key Hoyas player, KJ Lewis, was entering the NCAA transfer portal. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on a big topic on Tuesday's show, episode 1292. Washington Commanders managing partner Josh Harris on Monday afternoon in a session with reporters at the NFL's annual league meeting saying that the team is sticking with the name Commanders, but also, quote, we have a lot of surprises up our sleeve, end quote, regarding the branding. What exactly did he mean by that? From Amateur Ludis on X, writes Amateur, I don't know what Harris meant by that, but sticking with the C word is just an awful decision. I'll never get behind that name, and I'll just call the team Washington. Thank you for that, Amateur. I love how some people so despise the name Commanders, so despise the C word, that the people won't say or write Commanders and say or write C word instead. Like, that is commitment to hitting a name when you refuse to say or write the name. I don't know how many people have noticed this, but I, on this podcast, more and more, am saying Washington instead of Commanders. And I, in the titles for episodes of the podcast for months now, have been leaning more toward Washington than Commanders. Why? Simple. A lot of people really hate the name Commanders, and I get the hate. And while I'm not going to go so far as to never say or write the name Commanders, I do understand that just going with Washington is more pleasant for a lot of people, and so I'm doing that a lot more. Now, referring to my teams by the city instead of the nickname will always be odd. Like, I never call the Nationals Washington. I always call the Nationals or Nats. I never call the Capitals Washington. I always call the Capitals or Caps. I never call the Wizards Washington. I always call the Wizards the Wizards. I actually don't say Wiz because I don't like that nickname, and I don't like the name Wizards in general. I so wish the team would go back to being the Bullets, but I do still say Wizards and not Washington. But with the Commanders, things are different. This situation with the name of this team is an ultra unique situation for many different reasons, and I have made the executive decision on this podcast to lean more toward Washington than Commanders when referring to the team. We had a lengthy, contentious board meeting about the issue, a lot of yelling and screaming, a lot of alcohol, but we arrived at this decision. From John Deasy on X, writes John, Josh Harris needs to be careful as to how much excitement and expectation he can't wait to see from the Redskins fan base on what he has up his sleeve. The fan base has not forgotten how terrible an organization this was for 25 plus years. Thank you for that, John. Josh Harris on Monday afternoon in an answer said, quote, we're committed to the Commander's name, end quote, but also said, quote, we have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season. I'm excited to see the reaction. I think we've got it right, end quote. And that marked the second time during his session with reporters on Monday afternoon that he, regarding the issue of the brand, mentioned the team having things/surprises up its sleeve. He earlier in the session said, quote, we have a bunch of things up our sleeve. I don't want to ruin the surprise, end quote. There definitely is risk in him talking up the team having things/surprises up its sleeve, because that can lead to disappointment depending on what those things/surprises are. The obvious thing to wonder about, as we did on Tuesday's show, is the logo. Is a change to the team's primary logo coming? Perhaps a change in the team going back to a previous logo like a spear, or the logo based on Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf. But in fairness to Josh Harris, if you listen to how he talked about the team having things/surprises up its sleeve, he didn't do so in an arrogant, boisterous kind of way. He did so in more of a matter-of-fact, practical way. The tone in which he talked about the team having things/surprises up its sleeve was, at least to me, not cocky. Look, this issue with the brand remains a huge issue. So many fans, myself included, care about the issue, and there will never be a simple, easy answer to the issue. That's the problem with the issue. But here's all you need to know about the issue still being a big deal for so many fans. So the team this past Thursday afternoon on X put out a video announcing that the team on April 15th will be announcing, quote, new uniforms, end quote. That video on X, as of Tuesday afternoon, had garnered 2.7 million views, blowing away the number of views for the overwhelming majority of videos that the team has put out on X. 2.7 million views. I know that the issue of the brand is not a big deal for every fan of the team, but if you are one of the people for whom the brand is not a big deal, just understand that the issue of the brand is a big deal for many, if not most, fans of the team. Hey, if you are listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them.
Today's show is sponsored by Strawberry.me. Let me ask you something. Do you think championship athletes got to the top by guessing? No, they had coaching. Every elite athlete has a coach watching their form, calling the plays, and spotting the blind spots they can't see themselves. That's how championships are won. So why are you trying to win in your career without a coach? You're grinding, hoping for the promotion, trying to read the politics, guessing your next move. That's amateur hour. If you want to perform like a pro, you need coaching. Strawberry.me matches you with a professional career coach who breaks down your game film. They help you negotiate the raise, navigate workplace politics, and execute a strategy that actually works. Stop riding the bench in your own life. Go to strawberry.me/podcast50 to get 50% off your first coaching session. Strawberry.me, because pros don't guess, they get coached to win.
All right, let's discuss the best of what Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters and Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn have had to say during the NFL's annual league meeting, which is taking place in Phoenix. It is on April 20th that NFL teams with returning head coaches can begin offseason workout programs. Included in those teams is Washington, and the team in its third offseason with Adam Peters as GM and Dan Quinn as head coach has had a lot of changes. That gathering for the start of the offseason workout program will feature a lot of new faces and also a lot of familiar faces with new roles as the team this offseason has conducted a coaching staff revamping that included a number of promotions and demotions. But maybe nothing by Washington this offseason has been more surprising than the team releasing center Tyler Biadasz, who seemed to do well over his 2 seasons with the team, often having signed him as an unrestricted free agent in March 2024. We, on February 26th, had the shocking reports that Washington was releasing Biadasz. The team on March 3rd officially announced having released Biadasz. And then the Los Angeles Chargers on March 6th announced having signed Biadasz as an unrestricted free agent. And the Chargers gave him a nice contract. The Chargers, per OverTheCap.com and SpotTrack.com, signed Biadasz to a 3-year, $30 million contract with $15 million fully guaranteed at signing. There, regarding Washington releasing Biadasz, are 2 major lingering questions. A, why'd the team sour on him? B, given how quickly the Chargers signed him and given the contract to which they signed him, could Adam Peters have traded Biadasz and gotten something for him instead of releasing him and getting nothing for him? We, on Monday morning, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
The first question I want to ask is, you guys released Tyler Biadasz. Just kind of curious what went into that decision.
Yeah, those ones are hard, because also not just like from the football standpoint, had a longer relationship with Tyler. It's coming, so I loved him setting some of the standards, in year 1 to get rolling. But at the end of it, sometimes you have to, pull different levers to make it all, come together. And so definitely a tough call. But when we felt, like, hey, this is the best call for us for the team.
All right, so Dan Quinn, as you would expect, not specifying why Washington soured on Tyler Biadasz, nor should Quinn have specified why Washington soured on Biadasz. Take the high road. I would say 2 things about this mystery of why Washington soured on Biadasz. Number 1, there is so much with offensive line play that we don't know. And specific to being a starting center, there are a lot of responsibilities for him as compared to those for other offensive linemen. So just because we think that Biadasz wasn't bad this past season doesn't mean that he wasn't bad this past season. Number 2, remember that Washington on January 6th parted with offensive line coach Bobby Johnson in a surprise move. But if you add up that surprising move and the surprising move of the team releasing Biadasz, clearly the team had dissatisfaction with the offensive line this past season. Like, you don't part with the offensive line coach and the starting center if you don't have dissatisfaction with the offensive line. And just because we didn't know about the dissatisfaction doesn't mean that it didn't exist. Now, what about Washington not trading Biadasz? We on Monday morning had this back and forth between Mitch Tisler of Monumental Sports Network and Dan Quinn.
With Tyler Biadasz, did you guys explore a trade with him at all? And then were you surprised?
We did not explore a trade. I wasn't surprised that he had gotten signed. I'm glad that he did. I know Mike, who's the new OC there, and so he was pumped to get him there. And we talked, I know a little bit from Mike about scheme-wise, what they would do, and I certainly thought Tyler would be a fit there with them. But I wasn't surprised. He's tough, he's durable, he's smart. So I wasn't surprised, in that space.
So by not exploring a trade, we just kind of try to do best by Tyler and give him enough.
Yeah, hit AP up on that one more. He'd be better getting you up on that. But for sure, the competition at the spot is by no means, cemented or, finalized in that one.
Okay, so Dan Quinn initially saying that Washington did not try to trade Tyler Biadasz. That sounded nuts, right? Like, why wouldn't you at least try to trade him? But then Quinn backed off that a bit, and Adam Peters, during his session with reporters on Monday afternoon, shed some light on whether the team tried to trade Biadasz. Here you go.
Yeah, so I mean that's an interesting question, and I don't want to like get into all the specifics of all the guys we talk about, because you guys know, like John, like we have conversations all the time, and you never want those things to get out, right? With if you're talking about different players, whether you're trading for them or looking to trade them away. A lot of times you're not even looking to trade them. It's just teams will inquire about guys. So you're going to have these conversations. Sometimes they get out, but that's our personnel department's job, is to know what's out there, both coming in and going out. So without getting into specifics on Tyler, we explore everything, and ultimately that was a decision we thought would be best for the team to move on.
All right, so that right there to me sounds like Adam Peters did try to trade Tyler Biadasz, and there just were no takers. Quote, "Without getting into specifics on Tyler, we explore everything, and ultimately that was the decision that we thought would be best for the team to move on." End quote. And I believe Adam Peters on this. I mean, why wouldn't he have tried to trade Biadasz? It would be moronic for Peters not to have tried to trade Biadasz before releasing him. So what now at center? Washington on March 9th announced having signed center/guard Nick Allegretti to a contract extension, reportedly extending him through the 2027 season and lowering his salary cap hit for the 2026 season. We on Monday morning had this exchange between Nicky Jhabvala and Dan Quinn.
What is the plan at center?
Well, to start it, as we're hitting here today, Nick and Julian, would go to battle, and then let's see what, the next, time during this offseason into the next, month or so go, but that's where we'll start.
So Dan Quinn, regarding Washington's plan at center, mentioned Nick Allegretti, Julian Good-Jones, and the possibility of the team acquiring more at center. Julian Good-Jones, he was acquired by Washington via its signing him off the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad in November 2023. He has been cut by Washington multiple times, but has stuck around. But he in his NFL career has played in just one regular season game, which was the 2023 regular season finale, a 38-10 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at FedEx Field on January 7th, 2024. That was Washington's final game before taking quarterback Jayden Daniels with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft out of LSU. There has not been a ton of Jayden Daniels discussion for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn at the NFL's annual league meeting, but the flag football game did come up. The Fanatics Flag Football Classic, a 5-on-5 flag football round-robin tournament at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles on March 21st. Daniels played in that game, and not just at quarterback. He played some at receiver in addition to playing quarterback, but he did not get hurt. This was an odd event because we had a team of actual skilled flag football players dominating 2 teams comprised of NFL players and celebrities who included the likes of boxer Terrence Crawford, WWE wrestler Logan Paul, and YouTuber IShowSpeed. So it was strange watching this event. You didn't know whether to take it seriously or dismiss it, but there certainly was injury risk. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Nicky Jhabvala and Adam Peters.
I have to ask about Jayden. Just with everything he dealt with last season, was there any concern about him participating in the Fanatics Flag Football game? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I try not to watch too much of it, but we talked about this really for, when did it start? When the thing came out, maybe in September. So we've had an open dialogue with Jayden about that throughout, and so obviously you're concerned. I think all of us probably are concerned about that. Not just me, probably me the most, but understanding that it's something that was important to him, and just talking about the risk versus reward and all that, and then he's going to make the decision on his own in terms of that. But we supported him whatever he wanted to do, and the thing about Jayden, he loves football, he loves playing, he loves competing, and so I think that was something that was important to him. So I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he came out healthy.
Yeah, we all are. I was not a fan of Jayden Daniels in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic playing receiver. Him playing receiver was not needed, but I was not mad at him for playing in the event. Daniels competing in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic, to me, fell under the category of acceptable, risky offseason behavior for an NFL QB1. The same way that him running wind sprints or lifting weights or getting together with teammates at practice falls under the category of acceptable, risky offseason behavior for an NFL QB1. Life is full of risk. You should not be stupid, but you shouldn't be scared. And, if this guy can't play in a flag football round-robin tournament without getting hurt, then we have bigger problems, okay? Like, if that's the case, the Commanders should be thinking about taking a quarterback with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Also, let's not ignore this. Daniels got paid for participating in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic, which originally was to have taken place in Saudi Arabia, but got moved to L.A. Due to the ongoing United States military operation in Iran. Ain't no money quite like Saudi money. I'm guessing that Daniels got paid quite well for playing in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic. As for playing for his employer, Washington, Dan Quinn and new offensive coordinator David Blau have made it clear that the team will be going with more under-center snaps for Daniels. So now, so much of Daniels' football career has included him playing out of the shotgun and pistol formations. How much of an adjustment will working more from under-center be? We on Monday morning had this exchange between Nicky Jhabvala and Dan Quinn.
With Jayden just transitioning to however Blau works his offense, just more under center.
Yeah.
What kind of transition is that like?
Well, I think it's footwork. And so that's where it can start, because the drops could be different. When you're in the gun, like a 5-step would be a 3. And so how do you transfer those ones in? The speed of getting out, the speed of getting your play fakes to going. So that's what he's been working really hard on as well. So Jade's an accurate thrower. He's got a big arm. And so now doing some of that setup, hitch, throw, quick 5. And so the footwork timing is the biggest, I would say, adjustment for it. And then from a non-physical standpoint, when you huddle a little more, cadences and checks and things that you'd use at the line of scrimmage. So those would be 2 points of emphasis prior to him getting here with the guys.
All right. Also regarding Jayden Daniels from Dan Quinn in recent days has been Quinn saying that the idea is for Daniels this offseason to put on some muscle. This was Quinn with NFL insider Josina Anderson of the Exhibit News Network on her podcast, The Exhibit, in an interview that was published on YouTube on Monday morning.
I'm curious, what specific emphasis do you as coach put on the need maybe for him to put on more weight when it comes to his 6'3", 210-pound frame, when it comes to the durability of how long he lasts?
Yeah, and he is a remarkable competitor. So I think, like most players at that position, make sure you have enough armor. Long season hits, that goes with the position. And so he's worked incredibly hard at that. He looks great, but he's really putting in the work. That's who he is, though, like at his core. So knowing that as he's developing going into year 3, yeah, I think he'll be a little bigger and a little stronger going into that natural progression.
Interesting to hear Dan Quinn bring up the idea of Jayden Daniels making sure that he has, quote, enough armor, end quote. Daniels last offseason appeared to put on muscle, but as you may recall, he on January 5th, during his end-of-season session with reporters, said that a goal for him in the 2026 offseason was, quote, rebuilding myself from the ground up, end quote. Daniels did not expound on what he meant by that, but that sounded dramatic, right? Quote, rebuilding myself from the ground up, end quote. I do worry about Jayden Daniels' body type. He's naturally thin. There is no getting around that. You look at the numbers. Washington lists Jayden Daniels as being 6'4" and 210 pounds. He, by NFL quarterback standards, is light for being 6'4". For comparison's sake, another recent Washington quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, he's listed as being 6'4" and 231 pounds. Same height, but 21 pounds heavier. But let's be clear. The way that Jayden Daniels becomes less prone to injury is by getting better at avoiding contact. That matters a lot more than him putting on some muscle. And let's also be clear that his overall track record is one of durability. And I keep coming back to this, but I think that it's important to keep pointing this out. Daniels, over 5 seasons as a collegiate QB1, played in 55 of a possible 57 games. Daniels, in his all-time great 2024 rookie NFL season, played in all 20 of Washington's regular season and postseason games. The problem was this past season. Daniels played in just 7 of Washington's 17 regular season games due to getting injured 4 times. The biggest acquisition for Washington on offense so far this offseason is tight end Chig Okonkwo, who the team on March 12th announced as having signed as an unrestricted free agent. Washington's group of tight ends is as follows: Chig Okonkwo, John Bates, Ben Sinnott, Colson Yankoff, and Lawrence Cager. We on Monday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider David Harrison of WUSA 9 and Dan Quinn.
Conceptually, as much as you can share, the presence of Chig Okonkwo, John Bates, Ben Sinnott, even Colson Yankoff in that room. How do you kind of see that dynamic playing off each other?
Yeah, let's probably first start with Chig and the addition of him to go. And so I love the speed, first and foremost, because some people have time speed and then demonstrated game speed, and I felt that with Chig. And so you see it on deep over routes and ones that build up speed on a play action game. Ben's strength, I really feel like, is still him in the move, in the backfield, from the line of scrimmage, off the line, and he can really run and get to the edge. John, obviously, is one of the best inline guys we go, and Yankoff is somebody that we felt like has really worked hard in dual role. And so I'm looking forward to see what Yank can do, because he's a guy that's there. And the other player that we haven't talked about, but all of us have high hopes for, is Cager. He's got uniqueness to him, man. And so if there's one player, he said, Dan, who are you really looking to see what's going to take place in the spring and in this training camp? I see this guy putting in an incredible amount of work right now. And I'm interested to see where that goes with Cager. I think there's a real value there for third down, and it's one of Zach's superpowers. And so when that didn't take place, that's a harder person to replace, knows when to sit down, when to go. And so Cager's also one that we don't talk about a lot outside, but I thought it's worthy of bringing him up.
And it, of course, very much stood out that Dan Quinn made it a point to bring up Lawrence Cager. Adam Peters, during his joint season-ending press conference with Dan Quinn this past January 5th, actually brought up Cager when asked about the tight end position. Washington, on January 7th, announced having signed Cager to a reserve/futures contract, a second consecutive January in which the team signed Cager to a reserve/futures contract. Cager entered the NFL in May 2020 via signing with the New York Jets as an undrafted free agent out of the University of Georgia. Has bounced around a bunch, but he spent most of this past season on Washington's practice squad. Much more from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn in moments, but if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for Commanders discussion. Now's the perfect time to check out bgobsession.com with everything that the team has done in free agency and with the NFL draft coming up. The Sons of Washington forum on bgobsession.com is really good. A lot of smart and funny conversation. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. Great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. What about receiver? You look at Washington at receiver this offseason. The team has re-signed unrestricted free agent Treylon Burks and has signed unrestricted free agents De'Ami Brown and Van Jefferson. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Nicky Javala and Adam Peters.
How do you feel the receivers room is now? Is that a place where you still would like to add? Or kind of, what's your view of it?
Yeah, I think, really every room is a room we'd still like to add. It's March 30th right now. So, but in terms of that room specifically, obviously we have Terry. Terry's number one receiver. We brought Treylon back, which I'm really excited about. I think he's got another level to go to. He showed us a lot, at practice and in the games when he was able to make some plays there. Luke and Jalen, another couple guys that are, being a year older and we're excited about, and then bringing De'Ami back and Van. We have a couple young guys in there too. So I like the room right now, but I think just like everywhere, we have a lot of time to add before we play in September.
Yeah, like, say, San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Ayuk. The Brandon Ayuk scenario looms. We are anticipating Washington signing this guy once the Niners release him, given his relationship with Jayden Daniels and history with Adam Peters. But who the heck knows when the Niners are going to release Ayuk? It's also possible that they trade Ayuk. But if they do release him, they may not do so for a while because they have no reason to rush into releasing him before exhausting trying to trade him. The Niners Ayuk situation is ugly. There's no doubt. Heck, Niners principal owner Jed York, he during a session with reporters on Monday suggested that the team might keep Ayuk. Take a listen to this.
Both John and Kyle talked about Brandon Ayuk and the frustration and trying to get him back into the fold. Where is your stance on what happened there?
I don't know. I mean, he got hurt after he got paid, and I hope he gets back healthy. Right? I think Bill Parcells said this, and I talked to JL and Kyle about this. Like, our job is to build a culture, and our job is to make sure that we bring talent into the building. Like, BA is a very talented guy. Would love to be able to bring him back into the fold, and if not, I think he's a valuable asset that other people would want. And we're going to make sure that we get value and we bring talent into our building.
Do you think there's a possibility where he stays?
Like, last question, like, what did he get?
Yeah, you threw us a curveball. Well, you said something so intriguing.
It was super intriguing. I'm a very intriguing guy.
I mean, you seem to open the door for at least a possibility of him actually staying with the team. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think anything's possible, right? We want to make sure that we have as talented of a roster as possible. First and foremost, he needs to get healthy and be able to perform. I think once that happens, he's a really, really good football player.
Is he healthy right now?
I haven't seen him. I have no idea.
Appreciate it, guys.
Just say it helps your trade leverage, saying that you want to keep him.
I don't think it helps your trade leverage. It's just he's a good football player. Like, we paid him. I think we've paid him more millions of dollars in snaps that he's had, right? Like, I would like to see him play for us. Like, we paid him for a reason. Like, I think he's a really good football player. And when you look at the group of people that is there, right, especially adding guys like Mike and Christian who are legit veteran people, right, that's a room that can absorb somebody that has had a tough go with our franchise for the last year or so. So again, like, I think we're making sure that room is what it needs to be. And if BA is a part of that room, like, we're going to be more talented, and I have no problem with that. I hope he's doing well personally, and I hope I get to see him soon. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, the Niners are in no rush to release Brandon Ayuk, so him joining Washington, if that happens, could take a while. And rounding out Washington's skill positions, running back, you look at Washington at running back this offseason. The team has re-signed unrestricted free agent Jeremy McNichols and has signed unrestricted free agents Rashad White and Jerome Ford. Also, Washington this month non-tendered running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., making him an unrestricted free agent as opposed to a restricted free agent. And the Jacksonville Jaguars on March 11th announced having agreed with Rodriguez on a contract. We on Monday morning had this exchange with Dan Quinn.
Regarding the running back room, you added a couple guys.
We did.
Who's Chris? What do you think that room? How do you like that room right now?
Yeah, and for Chris, like, what a great teammate he has been here. So he's the type of player that helped the locker room really go strong. So we're pumped for him. Adding Rashad, Jerome into the mix of what goes going against with White. He's a fantastic pass catcher coming out of the backfield. Like, the screen game, the ability to create when he gets outside, and I thought he was always so smooth, when you saw him get out to the edges. So for him to have a chance to come and be a part of it, that excited me. Anthony Lynn was one that really had been on forward, had watched it, and I trust Anthony's opinions on all things running back and lots of other stuff, but that one for sure. So I'm excited to see where they go. Jeremy to come back was good for us. He's about as good a teammate as I've coached. The way he uplifts and help others, and for those of you who've been around J-Mac, he's a pro's pro. And so adding to a room, when I was talking earlier about what I'm looking for in competition, I think running back's one of those rooms, tight end's one of those rooms, DN's is one of those rooms where, like, man, we're talking really pushing one another to see where it can get to. And my experience has been when you do that, man, like, it just rises and it gets elevated, and I expect that to be the case on the three positions that I said for sure.
Well, Washington right now has 4 running backs: Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Rashad White, Jerome Ford, and Jeremy McNichols. So the team has enough to be viable at running back, but in no way has so much to where you say that the current group precludes the Commanders from taking Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft if they so choose. Regarding the defense of Washington, so a lot of activity at edge defender this offseason, right? Washington this offseason has re-signed edge defenders Dietrich Wise Jr. and Drake Jackson as pending unrestricted free agents / actual unrestricted free agents, and has signed Adafe Owe, Kaylavon Chason, and Charles Omenihu as unrestricted free agents. So also, the team has 2 edge defenders in Dorrance Armstrong and Javonte Jean-Baptiste coming off season-ending injuries, and the team has lost Jacob Martin as an unrestricted free agent to the Tennessee Titans. We on Monday morning had this exchange between Tashawn Reed, who this past season covered the Commanders for the Washington Post, and Dan Quinn.
Back when the season first ended, Adam Peters made it pretty clear that edge rusher was going to be a priority, obviously.
Yeah, amen. He delivered.
Made a lot of moves there. Not just the additions that you made, but also Dorrance.
Yeah.
Coming back from his injury, how do you feel about that group overall?
Yeah, let's start with DA. I really thought he was really, coming into his own, and so for him to have that setback was significant. The good news with him, he's doing great, and so it sent me a video of him just training the other day, and just super pumped about where he's headed and why it's going, because he's a real factor in his versatility. You've seen him line up outside, inside, and so because of him, we're allowed to move other parts around as well. And so Charles is a player like that, where he can be outside all the way to inside, and so it leaves guys like Dafe and KC more outside first. So the best teams that I've been a part of had waves of players that could apply pressure, and we'll need to be able to do that, and we will.
Yeah, maybe no position group for Washington has been upgraded more this offseason than edge defender. The big occurrence at linebacker for Washington this offseason has been the team signing unrestricted free agent Leo Chanel. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Adam Peters.
How high of a priority was it to get a little bit more athleticism in the middle of the field with the linebacker, with bringing in Leo and him working with Lou and company?
Yeah, I think it's really more athleticism everywhere, so not just the middle of the field, but certainly wanted to be faster. And so Leo definitely fits that bill, and really most of the guys we brought in fit that bill in terms of that. So, the whole reason we signed him was just because that clip where he jumped up on the bus, that was it for me. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, but it speaks to his athleticism, but he's certainly another guy who we think has another level to him. He's hungry. He really wanted to be with us, and he's versatile, so he can play on the edge of the line of scrimmage. He can play off the ball. He was a really good special teams player. He can drop in coverage. So his athleticism, his versatility, and he's young and he's hungry to prove that he can be a better player than he was at the Chiefs, which he was pretty good.
Yes, he was. The clip that Adam Peters referenced is video that went viral, video of Leo Chanel during a Chiefs Super Bowl championship celebration climbing up a double-decker bus. Incredible to see. Washington at cornerback this offseason has signed unrestricted free agents Amik Robertson and Akello Witherspoon, and has lost 2 unrestricted free agents, Jonathan Jones to the Philadelphia Eagles and Noah Igbenogany to the Seattle Seahawks. So we on Monday morning had these exchanges with Dan Quinn.
Yeah, you guys sort of remade the quarterback group, adding Amik and Witherspoon and moving a couple guys. How do you feel about where that group stands now?
Yeah, and so adding Spoon just the other day, that was good. So different sizes, different ways. There's with Spoon the experience, with Amik, and I'm sure you guys watched it too. The thing that just absolutely impressed me before he was a Commander was this relentless competitive play style. He is an absolute dog, and so those are the types of competitors I was talking about. When you add that to the room at different spots in different areas, and you see things get elevated. He'd already had some previous connection, with a few of the players here, with his background from Louisiana, and so to add him, chip on your shoulder, ready to go battle for it, I thought that's us, in terms of an attitude and an edge, and I hope that's what you see, from us. Again, I thought our first year prior to you arriving, there were some things that we liked, and in 25 absolutely got punched in the mouth. And so players like Amik have the type of resilience and attitude to battle that I really like, and I'm very much looking forward to having him as part of this group. It doesn't just make just the cornerbacks better, it's also the receivers and the way that you practice and the way that you go. And so all of that, when you put into this competitive arena, just elevates. And so I'm really pumped about being here.
Dan, is there quickly, he's a guy that's played nickel and outside.
Yeah.
Do you have a set spot?
I don't know yet, because Mike has also. And so we'll certainly work them both at both locations. And we'll take some time to figure that out and what that looks like. So I'm not sure yet. But we don't have to today. But as we go through the spring and probably the first month of camp, we'll this day, that day, and then we'll get closer to how we want to align it all.
All right, so two things right there. First of all, Dan Quinn, as I suspected, singing the praises of Amik Robertson as a competitor. You just knew that Quinn could not wait to do that. Quinn loves to talk about guys being competitors, being dog-ass competitors, as Quinn likes to say. Second of all, no commitment from Quinn regarding whether what has been anticipated will be the case. Robertson as the team's number one slot corner and Mikey Sainristil as an outside corner. And then one more for you. This was Dan Quinn with ESPN NFL analyst Kevin Clark on his This Is Football podcast in an interview that was published on YouTube on Monday morning.
Give me a commander that's going to take a leap this year that maybe we're not talking about, whether it doesn't matter the position, but just a guy where, it's not on NFL Live at 4 p.m. saying this guy's going to have a huge season, but he's going to have a huge season.
All right. I will give you one. The first one that comes to mind, he said that was defensive tackle Johnny Newton. And his first year was injuries, had foot injuries to come in.
Yep.
I think he's a guy that's about to just absolutely take off.
What is it about him that you've seen?
As a defensive tackle, man, is he quick. And so beating somebody to the spot. So I think his ability as an interior rusher, I think he'll be somebody that you'll say, okay, I remember talking to Dan back in, March or April, whatever it was, and said this guy, turned into be a heavy hitter.
All right, we're clipping this. We're clipping it. We're
Do
going
it.
to show you in February, and
I'm down for
when
that.
Johnny Newton's winning Defensive Player of the Year, we'll be at NFL Honors, and we'll just show this right here, and we'll say DQ saw this all the way.
Yeah,
so
I will be more than glad to be at that point with you.
All right, so it would be great to see interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton take a big leap this coming season, but he so far has been disappointing given that the team took him in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft out of the University of Illinois. Remember, Newton was seen as a first-round talent who fell to the second round, but he, over his 2 NFL seasons, has not done much. Now, he's not a total lost cause. I'm certainly not writing the guy off. I'm rooting for Johnny Newton. I'd love to see him bust out in his 3rd NFL season. This is a big season number 3 upcoming for him. But, you think about Washington's hierarchy in terms of interior defensive linemen, it could be that Johnny Newton is number 4. Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, and Tim Settle, who the team this month signed as an unrestricted free agent. All of those guys potentially are ahead of Johnny Newton. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It will fight for you and win for you. Lead attorney Chris Nace is a big Washington Commanders fan and big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. So just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. A big win for the Washington Capitals, a 6-4 win over the Philadelphia Flyers at Capital One Arena on Tuesday night. The Caps improved to 7-2-2 over their last 11 games. The Caps in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season improved to 38-28-9, good for 85 points, 3 points behind the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Eastern Conference's second of 2 wildcard spots, 4 points behind the New York Islanders for third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top 3 teams in each division make the postseason. Our Caps are rising. They are not that far back at these postseason spots, but the Caps also are bunched in tight with a bunch of other teams, including the Flyers, and the Caps have just 7 games left in this regular season. Time is running out, but this was a heck of a win. The Caps won despite blowing a 2-0 lead at the end of the first period. The Caps won 6-4 despite getting ripped in the puck possession battle. They had just 18 shots on goal to the Flyers' 24, and per natural stat trick had just 25 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Flyers' 43. The Caps starting goaltender, again, was their number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson. He stopped just 20 of the 24 shots on goal that he faced. The Caps are leaning on Thompson a ton here down the stretch. He has started each of the Caps' last 8 games. He has allowed 4 goals in each of the Caps' last 3 games, but the Caps have won each game. Good game for Caps special teams, 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, 2 for 3 on the power play. Caps defenseman Jacob Chikrin, he scored a power play goal 6:58 into the second period, giving him 24 goals in this regular season and tying one of my all-time favorite Caps players, Kevin Hatcher, in 1990-1991 for the 5th most goals by a Caps defenseman in a regular season. Also, Chikrin had 2 secondary assists, giving him 32 assists in this regular season. Caps third-line right wing Ryan Leonard, he scored a power play goal 17:37 into the second period, giving him 16 goals in this regular season. Also, he had a primary assist for his 23rd assist in this regular season. And 2 Caps players each had 2 goals, Alex Ovechkin and Tom Wilson. Caps top line left wing Alex Ovechkin, he scored 2 goals, giving him 31 goals in this regular season. He scored an even strength goal 18:35 into the first period and scored an even strength goal 3:47 into the third period. Ovi became just the 4th player in NHL history to score at least 30 goals in his age 40 regular season or older. Also, he had a game-high 10 total shot attempts, including 3 shots on goal. He had a team-high 3 hits, and he was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 56.25. The Caps with Ovi on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game, 9 shot attempts versus allowing 7 shot attempts. And again, this is his age 40 season. Cap second line right wing Tom Wilson, he was playing in his 900th career NHL regular season game. He scored 2 goals, giving him 27 goals in this regular season. He scored an even strength goal 14:59 into the first period and scored an even strength empty net goal 18:56 into the third period. And Cap second line center Pierre-Luc Dubois had 4 assists. Big time offensive firepower for the Caps in this game. Also for the Caps in this 6-4 win over the Flyers on Tuesday night, forward David Kampf played. Yes, he actually played for the Caps. I can't believe it. He played off having not played in each of the Caps' first 11 games, of them acquiring him via trade on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. He was not playing off dealing with a visa issue and the birth of a child, but here he was, at last, playing for the Caps. He served as the Caps' 4th-line center. Winger Ethan Frank did not play for a 4th consecutive game of having suffered a lower body injury in the Caps' 3-2 overtime loss to the Colorado Avalanche at Capital One Arena on March 22nd, although he was cleared to play for this game on Tuesday night, so he technically was a healthy scratch. Also, healthy scratches for the Caps were 3 defensemen, Declan Chisholm, Dylan McElrath, and Timothy Liljegren, who was a healthy scratch for a 7th consecutive game, despite having been acquired by the Caps via trade on 2026 NHL trade deadline day. Next up for the Caps at the New Jersey Devils, Thursday night at 7:30. The Washington Nationals being in on analytics and sports science like never before under their new regime of President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni, General Manager Anirudh Kalambi, and Manager Blake Butera led to the team on Tuesday evening going with an opener. An opener is a relief pitcher who starts a game and then gives way to the quote-unquote starting pitcher. The idea of an opener is for him to go all out for an inning and facing the opposing team's first three batters, who presumably are three of the opposing team's best batters. So the opener strategy was popularized by the Tampa Bay Rays in 2018, a season in which both Kalambi and Butera worked for the Rays. Well, the Nats going with an opener on Tuesday evening worked, but the Nats did lose the game. A 3-2 loss at the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 3-2. The Nats opener was lefty reliever P.J. Poulin. He did really well. He tossed a perfect bottom of the first in facing the Phillies' numbers 1 through 3 batters and 3 ex-Nats in right-handed batting Trey Turner, left-handed batting Kyle Schwarber, and left-handed batting Bryce Harper. And then Zach Littell came into the game. The Nats on March 10th announced having signed Littell as a free agent to a 1-year contract with a mutual option for the 2027 season. The contract, per reports, features $3 million for the 2026 season and then a mutual option of $12 million for the 2027 season with a $4 million buyout. So he's guaranteed $7 million. How ready he was for this outing was unclear, given that he just signed with the Nats a few weeks ago. This is his age 30 season. Littell came to the Nats having pitched for 5 MLB teams and having been used as both a starter and a reliever. But he, over the 2024 and 2025 regular seasons and being used solely as a starter, was quite good for the Tampa Bay Rays and Cincinnati Reds, who acquired him via trade with the Rays this past July 30th. Littell made at least 29 starts in each of the 2024 and 2025 regular seasons, and he during that stretch accumulated 6.0 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, an ERA of 3.73, and an ERA plus of 111. Well, Littell on Tuesday evening had mixed results. So he allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded just 1 strikeout, although he threw a lot of strikes. 75 pitches, 53 strikes, just 22 balls. So Littell, in the bottom of the third, gave up a 2-out solo homer by Kyle Schwarber to right center field for a 1-0 Phillies lead. Littell, in the bottom of the fourth, gave up a 2-out opposite field solo homer by Adolis Garcia to right field for a 2-0 Phillies lead. And Littell, in the bottom of the fifth, allowed a run on back-to-back 1-out singles, a 1-out walk, and a 1-out fielding error by first baseman Luis Garcia Jr., who booted the fielding of a bases-loaded grounder by Bryce Harper on an 0-2 pitch. So Littell did deserve better in that spot, although the bases were loaded. The Nats in this game used 1 pitcher in relief beyond Zach Littell, Ken Waldachuk. He tossed 2 scoreless innings. We, during Blake Butera's postgame session with reporters on Tuesday night, had these exchanges.
What was PJ doing that made him effective, and what did you think overall about the opener strategy today?
Yeah, I thought it went exactly how we had hoped. Couldn't have been better. You know, he did a great job of attacking 1-2-3 hitters, got ahead of them, mixed pitches, and made it really tough on those first 3 guys.
And as a whole, what did you just make of what Littell was able to do today after that?
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job navigating against a really tough lineup. They did a really good job of bringing him to them, and they put some good swings on balls, but Zach did an outstanding job of limiting damage.
Well, pitching was not the Nats' problem in this 3-2 loss at the Phillies on Tuesday evening. The Nats' offense did not have a good game. Just 2 runs, 8 hits, which were 2 doubles and 6 singles, just 2 walks, 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The Nats struggled against Philly starting pitcher Andrew Painter. He allowed 1 run in 5 1/3 innings with 8 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Andrew Painter, the Phillies took him with the number 13 overall pick in the 2021 MLB first-year player draft out of a high school in Florida. This was his MLB regular season debut, and he did well. Interesting game for James Wood. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number one batter. Went 1 for 5 with an RBI double and 2 strikeouts. Wood in the Nats 1-run 7th had a 2-out RBI double to cut the Nats deficit to 3-2. Despite having been down in the count at 1.02, the double came via Wood hitting the ball off Phillies reliever Tanner Banks and into shallow right field, though the double had an exit velocity of 106.9 miles per hour per StatCast. And Wood in the top of the ninth with Nasim Nunez on second base and 2 outs hit a full count opposite field liner on which left fielder Brandon Marsh made a running backhanded catch on the warning track to end the game. It looked as if the game might be tied, but instead the game ended. A 3-hit game for Dalen Lyle. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter. Went 3 for 4 with a double and 2 singles. So Lyle in the Nats 1-run 6th had a 1-out single to right field, prompting a throwing error by right fielder Adolis Garcia to score. C.J. Abrams to cut the Nats deficit to 3-1. Abrams' hustle perhaps forced that throwing error by Garcia. Game 3 for the Nats at the Phillies Wednesday afternoon at 1:05. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher.
Today's show is sponsored by Strawberry.me. Let me ask you something. Do you think championship athletes got to the top by guessing? No, they had coaching. Every elite athlete has a coach watching their form, calling the plays, and spotting the blind spots they can't see themselves. That's how championships are won. So why are you trying to win in your career without a coach? You're grinding, hoping for the promotion, trying to read the politics, guessing your next move. That's amateur hour. If you want to perform like a pro, you need coaching. Strawberry.me matches you with a professional career coach who breaks down your game film. They help you negotiate the raise, navigate workplace politics, and execute a strategy that actually works. Stop riding the bench in your own life. Go to strawberry.me/podcast50 to get 50% off your first coaching session. Strawberry.me, because pros don't guess, they get coached to win.
It is very early in MLB's 2026 regular season, but things are not going well for the Baltimore Orioles. They now are just 2-3. Their offense has been underwhelming. Their starting pitching has been disappointing. And now a starting pitcher appears to be injured. An 8-5 loss to the Texas Rangers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The Orioles starting pitcher for this game was Zach Eflin. This is his age 32 season. The O's past December 28th announced having agreed to re-sign Eflin as a free agent to a 1-year contract with a mutual option for the 2027 season. The O's on July 26th, 2024 announced having traded 3 prospects to the Tampa Bay Rays for Eflin. He, for the O's in the 2024 regular season, was really good. 9 starts, ERA at 2.60, 1.8 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference. But Eflin in the 2025 regular season made just 14 starts and was really bad. ERA of 5.93, whip of 1.42, wins above replacement per Baseball Reference of minus 0.3. He had 3 different stints on the 15-day injured list and eventually landed on the 60-day injured list as he on August 18th, 2025 underwent season-ending back surgery. Well, Eflin on Tuesday evening left the game due to right elbow discomfort. He, per Orioles manager Craig Albertaz during his postgame press conference on Tuesday night, was to undergo an MRI exam on Wednesday and was to be placed on an injured list. A terrible development that could mean something quite bad. We'll see. Eflin on Tuesday evening allowed 1 run in 3 2/3 innings with 7 strikeouts, but left the game due to the right elbow discomfort. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles. He issued 2 walks. He threw a lot of pitches as he, over his mere 3 2/3 innings, threw 74 pitches, 44 strikes, 30 balls. You got to feel for the guy off him being injured 1 start into this regular season off his injury-ravaged 2025 regular season. But again, we will hope for the best. The Orioles' relief pitching in this 8-5 loss to the Rangers on Tuesday evening, not at the relief pitching's best. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 7 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Grant Wolfram allowed 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Ynier Cano allowed 1 run in 1 inning. Yaramil Geraldo allowed 3 runs in 1 inning. He in the top of the 7th allowed 3 runs as he gave up a 2-out, 3-run homer by Danny Jansen to left center field for a 7-3 Rangers lead. And Anthony Nunez allowed 1 run in 2 innings. Each of the 4 relievers used by the O's in this game allowed at least 1 run. Not good. The Orioles offense in this 8-5 loss to the Rangers on Tuesday evening was so-so. 5 runs, 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles. Just 1 walk, 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. I mean, 5 runs should be enough to win. We did have the first regular season home run for Pete Alonso as an Oriole. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 3 batter. Went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. Alonso in the Orioles' 1-run 4th had a leadoff homer to left center field to tie the game at 1. The homer went a projected 400 feet per StatCast. The O's this past December 11th announced having agreed with Alonso as a free agent on a 5-year contract reportedly worth $155 million. Home runs are what he does. Pete Alonso was taken by the New York Mets in the 2nd round of the 2021 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Florida. He over 7 regular seasons with the Mets, 2019 through 2025, hit 264 home runs, the most in Mets history. Also, Gunnar Henderson, he is the Orioles starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 1 for 5 with a 2-run double. Henderson in an Orioles 2-run 5th had a 2-out opposite field 2-run double off the left center field wall to tie the game at 3 and knock Rangers starting pitcher Jacob deGrom out of the game. Speaking of former Mets, Game 3 for the O's against the Rangers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards Wednesday afternoon at 12:35. Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher, and we will await the word on Zach Eflin. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Thursday show, episode 1294. We'll provide you with more on the Washington Commanders. Also on Thursday's show, I'll talk Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Wizards are home to the Philadelphia 76ers Wednesday night at 7. The Nats are at the Philadelphia Phillies Wednesday afternoon at 1:05 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. The O's are home to the Texas Rangers Wednesday afternoon at 12:35 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Give me a commander that's going to take a leap this year that maybe we're not talking about, whether it doesn't matter the position, but just a guy where, you know, it's not on NFL Live at 4 p.m. saying this guy's going to have a huge season, but he's going to have a huge season.
All right. I will give you one. The first one that comes to mind, he said that was defensive tackle Johnny Newton.